So hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's Parents and Family Forum. My name is Eric Lasan, and I'm from Parent Engagement. Thanks to you all for joining us this evening. Before we begin, let me share a few logistical items. This session will operate much like a webinar. The microphone on your computer will not be active during this meeting. We also have Leah Sheldon, Assistant Director of Affinity Engagement, Affinity Student Engagement, forgive me. My notes just jumped a little bit here. Sorry about that. And she's here with us in support this evening. Throughout this evening's presentation, we will monitor the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So please submit your questions as you have them. You can also use the Q&A function if you're having technical difficulties, and Leah or I will do our best to help. This evening's session will provide updates from athletics, and we're very excited for our panel to share plenty of information with you this evening. So I'm excited to introduce our moderator for this evening, Rob Passage. Rob joined Willamette in August of 2012 as Director of Facilities and Operations. After a series of promotions, Rob has served as Director of Athletics since May of 2017. He previously served as Assistant Director of Athletics for Facilities and Events, as well as Head Men's Basketball Coach and Assistant Professor of Physical Education at Kalamazoo College in Michigan from 2002 to 2012. He graduated from Kalamazoo with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Economics in 1993 and earned a Master's in Athletic Administration from Western Michigan University in 1998. And he loves that I'm sharing those years with you.
30-year reunion, Eric. I didn't know I'd make it. I'm just glad I made it there.
So there we go. I'll turn it over to you now, Rob. Thanks a bunch.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. I would say it's great to see everyone. I can only see the panelists in the slide deck, but it's great to have folks here. Eric did share the list of attendees. I think we've got a wide range of folks from across our sports and across the classes. I'm really glad that we can do this. This has been something that we've done in the past, but this time we're not talking about COVID protocols. And so we're really talking about our athletes on the field in the classroom together and want to share, the great stuff that they've been doing. Before we get going, I do want to let the panelists introduce themselves, and then they'll each have some time with you through the rest of this presentation. But I'll kick it over to Leslie Shevlin.
Thanks, Rob. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Leslie Shevlin. Like Rob said, I use she, her pronouns. I am the current Associate Director of Athletics and Senior Woman Administrator at Willamette University. Also one of our co-SAC advisors, and you're going to hear a little bit more about our Student and Athlete Advisory Committee as we go along. I've been in this position for 4 years. Before that, 9 years as a proud head coach of swimming here at Willamette, and then started my career back in Pittsburgh at Duquesne University a long time ago. Not as long as Rob, but a long time ago. So it's really nice to have everyone here. So thanks for being here.
Isaac, you want to go next?
Yes, good evening. My name is Isaac Parker. I'm the head football coach, and I'm also a 2002 graduate, and got my master's in teaching back when we had an education school in 2005. Spent about 12 years coaching high school football, and this is my 9th year coaching college football, and it would be my 5th year / 4th season here at Willamette.
Thanks, Isaac. And then last but definitely not least, Jordan.
Hello, y'all. My name is Jordan Johnson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm not an alumni of anything but high school, so I have nothing to say about that. But I am on the softball team here. You might be able to tell because I'm not dressed as nearly as nice as Rob is, but I just came back from practice, so I'm on softball. I'm also a member of SAC, which, like Leslie said, I'll talk a little bit about later. And I am an admissions ambassador as well. So I work in the admissions office. But yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. So we're going to go through a series of slides with a lot of information. I thought this was a great place to start. And so this is the reason why we're here. These are our student athletes. These are our Bearcats. And This picture was taken at an event that we started about 5 or 6 years ago, I think, where we try to get all the student athletes together at the beginning of the year. And it's really just one for them to get to know new people, and then for them to just realize that they're 25% of our student population and that they have a voice and they have a presence. This is not all of them, unfortunately, with classes and different things, but it's a large number. And if you zoom in, you might be able to see your student in there somewhere. We have 387 student athletes across 21 teams. And so there's 19 of our teams that participate in the Northwest Conference. And then one team triathlon that is not a conference sport, but does compete intercollegiately. And then also the cheer team is a program that's within our athletic department. And so it's a great group. Again, we're looking forward to talking about how we support them, as student athletes here. So one of the things that we talked about and that I talked about at this meeting when we started the year was I talked to our student athletes about being champions. And, the idea that I think when you first say champions, everyone thinks, you're winning titles, you're a champion of the conference, you're champion, NCAA champion and the things on the scoreboard. And one of the things I wanted to stress to them was, we wanted to be champions in everything we do. And one of those is that you're showing up every day and be a champion at practice. And so I know Jordan did that today because I know she does that every day. And I know when she leaves in a little bit to go to class, she's also going to be a champion in the classroom. And so we're going to talk about and champion in the community in terms of what she's doing. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those things today, just to give you kind of a sense of where we've been so far this year. And then also take some time to talk about, where we hope to go. And so I think the first slide we have coming up will be champions in competition. And this is just a highlight of a few things that happened. Obviously, men's soccer won the Northwest Conference Championship, went to the national tournament, lost to the eventual national champion in the University of Chicago. One of the few schools to actually score on the University of Chicago this year. Leslie was there to see it in snow. While I was in Phoenix with triathlon, so it worked out a little bit better for me in that regard. But volleyball had one of their best years in recent memory. Men's golf was very successful. Women's soccer had kind of after a change in coaches. We welcomed Coach Lubicic to the program. Had a great year, and I know they have great things ahead of them. Cross country was the same. I think with a great balance of youth and some experience. I think they're going to be back at the top of the conference here very soon. Football started this season 2-1, got up to a great start with a home win here against Laverne, and went out to Buffalo and a great win after traveling. I sent them all the way across the country and dealing with all of that stuff. And so a lot of great things that happened, this fall. And then we received individual honors for that. And so Coach Edelman was the conference coach of the year, Pierce Galloway, the conference player of the year. We had 15 players that earned all conference recognition. There's a lot of success on the court, on the field, on the path in terms of cross country in the fall. And we've carried that over as we've got here into the winter. Now we're about 2/3 of the way, and maybe even further into our winter sports. Swimming has their last meet this weekend. They have their conference meet coming up in a few weeks up in Federal Way, which we're very excited about. They've got quite a few folks that are hoping to contend for top spots. And the defending, Leslie, you always have to tell me with the swim, but the defending
100-yard breaststroke champion.
100-yard breaststroke.
Yeah.
Came in second in the 200. I think that's what it was.
Anna Hornbeck, women's
swimming. So, thanks for helping with that. You're my swimming person, but among other things. And then basketball is finishing up. They have two more home games left. Men beat Linfield a few weeks ago for the first time in over 13 games. So it was an exciting game for them to have. And the women are competing for a slot in the tournament champion in the conference tournament at the end of the year. So we're looking forward to that. It's been fun. And then we also have spring sports. And so Jordan's probably excited. They're going to play a week from Saturday. And so far the weather is cooperating. So I'll knock on wood as we say that. But we have our spring sports starting. They've started practice. I can see lacrosse right out my window. Baseball and softball will start next weekend. Baseball on the road, softball at home. Lacrosse is home the following weekend. Track has a couple indoor meets before they get going outdoors. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening this spring, and we're looking for folks to continue the great start that we've had so far this year. And so I said we want to be champions in competition. I also talked about champions in the classroom, and I'll kick it over to Coach Parker to talk a little bit about that, and then also just kind of the academic support that's available, to our student athletes.
Thank you, Rob. We've got a bunch of stats shown here on this slide that I'm not going to go through and read them, but as you can see, the student athlete piece of being a Division III student athlete here at Willamette is very important to our department. We're in the middle of recruiting season right now, and so oftentimes this time of year, I think a lot about what we talk to prospective student athletes about, and I think one of the greatest things about Willamette University, from my experience as a student and as a staff member now, is just the balance that there's a passion, there's a love to participate and compete in your sport. Everyone that comes to a school like Willamette and it comes to Willamette University can't imagine doing college without doing their sport. And the beautiful thing about it, from my experience and what I see my team experiencing and other teams in our department experiencing, is that there's no sacrifice. There's incredible balance in the classroom and in competition for our students. What we do as coaches to support our students in being champions in the classroom, a lot of it is being a support person for the human being, as I like to say, being a distributor of information and resources. A lot of times coaches develop such a great relationship with their student athletes that not many on campus have. And I think there's some great recognition of that. We often get communication directly from professors and people who are invested in our student athletes on campus, knowing that that we have their ear, we have a relationship that not many on campus have with them. And so sometimes just being knowledgeable and understanding where the resources are. I know that you don't want your student athlete to be get any sort of academic support from me in chemistry or anything like that. And so it's just knowing where to go, what resources are available on campus. A few things to highlight: we have an incredible relationship with our faculty athletic representatives. They do an incredible job to be a mouthpiece amongst the faculty for our student athletes. I think it is a huge role that they play. We have a couple of professors, Brandy Rao-Lazzarini and Professor Pham, that both play this role for being a communication of what the student athletes' needs are in the classroom, and helping us as coaches understand the academic landscape so that we can better support and create success for them on the field and in the classroom simultaneously. Another piece of a resource is Jessica Cardinal-Lanier. She works in the Student Success Hub and has been an incredible resource for our student athletes. She's been in her position since 2017, and I know that from the personal experiences that my players have had with her, they really enjoy and appreciate the ways that she supports them, not just when they're struggling, when they're thriving, and whether it's to look into things like our combo degrees, like our 3-2 MBA, or different things like that. She is an incredible resource for them, and even for those that are transitioning. We have a couple of mid-year transfers and things, even if it's a junior college or a college transfer coming in and doesn't have the traditional 4-year experience here. She's an incredible resource for them as well. And then the last piece that I want to speak to is our Accessible Education Services, AES. they are great in not just helping students as they are incoming students find the resources and that they need based on their academic needs that are pre-existing, but also they come in huge when our student athletes have injuries or setbacks that impact them in the classroom, whether that's a concussion or, for example, I had a defensive lineman have surgery on his writing thumb today. And so he's been in contact through our athletic trainers to get the accommodations needed for him in the classroom through AES. And so being great communicators with our training staff to make sure that the appropriate support is available to them through AES is extremely important for your student athletes and our student athletes. But I think this success is not a surprise because of all of the pieces that are in place to help support student athletes. And I think the greatest piece of that is our class sizes, the philosophies that exist here at the school, that I think our athletic department echoes, and all of our coaches and programs do a great job of echoing, is the personal relationship that comes with being at Willamette. And I know that our coaches are talented and are masters in their sports, but probably what our student athletes appreciate the most is their personal relationship that allows them to access all these support systems and pieces that create this type of success that you see here in the classroom. And so the fun part for me is knowing that learning how to communicate and learning how to do these things and be successful in both the classroom and in the field or court or competition is that it pays off in the long run in your life. And that's what I have experienced, and a lot of my colleagues and teammates that I went to school with experienced as well. So.
Thanks, Isaac. I appreciate that. And I was going to say, before we move on, we had a little shout out to Coach Edelman, who was not able to join us tonight. That's him and his twin brother, Henry, from graduation years ago. We tried to get graduation photos of myself, but they're just black and white and faded. So we went with Sam instead. So, and Jordan, we can have you up here in a couple of years. So not this spring, but next spring. So then we're going to, we talked about also being champions in the community. And so Leslie's going to talk a little bit about that. And then a couple more slides. So go ahead, Les.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, I think our student athletes, they're students, they're athletes, and they also really, truly want to give back to their Willamette community as well as the Salem community and otherwise. So you can see we've signed up for something called Helper, which is a way to track the total number of service hours the department has done in any given year. And as you can also see, it is a little bit of a competition. So athletic folks made this thing. And then, of course, the way that to encourage athletics folks to participate is to make it a competition. So after the fall leaderboard has come out, due to our 962 total hours of service that have been logged, I'd bet you there's more hours that haven't quite made it on there yet into the log, but we are 6th in the nation as it relates to Division III schools. And these are some of the top teams in that grouping. And you can see some of the organizations that we've been able to work with that I won't talk too much about because Jordan's going to talk a little bit about them. Because a lot of the activity that the student athletes do as it relates to service, the coaches do create opportunities for them. Our student athletes themselves and our student athlete advisory committee leaders also create these opportunities. So you can see 2 of those down there with working with the Marion Polk Food Share and with the pediatric unit at Salem Hospital. So I'll let Jordan talk about those in a little bit. But in addition, some of the other things we've gotten to do is work with Special Olympics, which is a NCAA Division III partner as well, women's basketball. So our teams will take, when your student athletes don't get to stay at home during the holidays as long as you would like them to with you, because they're back participating in practices and competitions. Oftentimes they're also doing service. And our women's basketball team did participate in some service with Church in the Park while they were here over the holidays, and track and field and cross country has done the same with the Marion Polk Food Share Youth Farm. And we have a big event coming up on Tuesday just to raise awareness for an organization called Kim's Hope, which one of our former student athletes' mother passed away from a glioblastoma in recent years. And the basketball team rallied around that and continues to rally around that and support that family by raising awareness. So a lot of good things happening. And the student athletes have time to reflect on their service. And again, they are creating graphics, working with the marketing. They're doing all of the things that we all do in our daily jobs to get things going and to get people to sign up and to follow through. So it's so much more too than going out into the community. They're learning so much, making connections with themselves, their teammates, and with others. And the next slide, some of the other things that I wanted to mention, really personal to me. I get to do a lot of the student athlete facing things. I'm not a coach anymore, which is probably one of the best jobs on the planet. But next to that, some of the things that I get to do is support our student athletes around special events, special things, the service, the leadership development, and that kind of thing. And this year, one of the things that I'm really proud to be a part of, along with other members in our department, coaches and administration, is the 50th anniversary of Title IX. We started celebrating it when we started this year. The official anniversary was last June, but we're taking it through this year. And just wanted to share some of the things that we're doing. We are honoring Title IX and all of our women at a women's event for each of our teams this year. So you can see the cheer team came out to a cross country meet this year. When we did it there, the sign you probably can't read, but I was very proud of these golf signs that we put at our fall classic. We had every other hole at the golf classic, either the 37 words that changed everything or graphics, and that's just not my bag. So I was really proud that we get to do that at the golf tournament and represented Willamette in front of the whole conference in that way. And then the picture you can see, I'm just going to mention it all the way on the left because it made me really proud of who we have as our coaches and our staff around us. That's our new head women's soccer coach, Lisa Lubachik and her daughter. And so Lisa is doing part of the 37 words. And at her soccer game, right before she coaches, talking to her daughter about what game is on her iPad. And there's just nothing more than to see a head coach of a women's team before she's ready to go coach a match, taking time to work out her daughter's iPad for her on the field. So a lot of good things that we're doing around the games. Title IX Tuesdays, Coach Kane from the swim team is doing the weekly Instagram on our Title IX Tuesdays. That's going all year. You can follow us on @WooBearcats at Instagram to check that out every Tuesday. And then just a brief note about what we're doing in the spring. We're working through some girls clinics and doing that kind of thing. And then this summer, proud to offer an event for our former Williams Award winners and some others around the Hall of Fame that we have coming for Alumni Reunion Weekend in the summer. So much more about that, a little bit of a teaser, I guess, but just really proud of how all of our women's team student athletes have stepped up to support what we're trying to do this year, and including next Wednesday is National Girls, Women in Sports Day. So we'll be doing a few things around that as well. And then the next slide, and this next stuff, this is why I do what I do. It's about Jordan, and it's about those other people you see in all these photos. They are the fun part, and I know you miss them, and they're not home, and we appreciate you letting them spend time with us. But I'll give it away to Jordan now. I'm just so proud to have Jordan here and to get to work with all these student leaders and all of our student athletes on a daily basis.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay, so what I'm going to be talking about is SAC, and that is a committee I'm a part of. So SAC is the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And basically what SAC does is our goal is to enhance student athlete experience by creating communication, creating opportunities for student athletes to get involved, to have a place of home, like for these student athletes, like SAC is a place where you can go if you need help with something. Leslie and Rob are like so closely involved with SAC. That's why all of the student athletes love it. I love it. I love being a part of it. So basically, SAC is involved in external and internal community efforts, as well as external philanthropy. And also, every team has 1 to 3 reps. So there are either 1 or 2 or 3 representatives from each team. Softball has 3, because softball is awesome. And let me just give you some examples of our external philanthropy and our external community efforts. So this past November, our student athletes from all 20 athletic teams donated non-perishable food items to support the Marion Polk Food Share. We also engaged in the community by hosting drop-off times at the basketball and football games. And we ended up collecting a total of 1,380 meals, as well as $158 were donated to the food share. In addition to this, student athletes have contributed 10 hours of community service through advertising, marketing, can counting, and delivering the foods to the Marion Polk County Food Share. In December, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, or SAC, decided to make this year's Winter Social, which I'll talk a little bit about in a bit. But we decided to make it a philanthropic event, but we also wanted it to be fun. So we created about 40 Bearcat boxes for children in the Salem Hospital Pediatric Unit. So in these boxes were goodies for ages ranging from infant to teenager. So in these boxes, like, we fill them with toys, we fill them with stuff for them. And we also added notes to the caretakers of the children in the hospital. And then after we did all of this, a group went over to the Salem Hospital to deliver those boxes. Some of the internal community efforts that we do, SAC hosted a welcome to campus social. So Rob showed that photo at the beginning where everyone was together. And it's for first years and transfers during opening days. So actually, a lot of the student athletes showed up in support of those first year and transfers for those as well. Just because it was a moment where we could all like unify and get to know all of the first years and get to know all of the transfers and stuff. So that's just some of the things that we do to like build community initially, like as soon as we step on campus. And as I was talking about the winter social, so SAC decided to host that winter social so that the student athletes could take a break before exams. It was right before finals week. And in this, as well as building the boxes, we also had cookie decorating. And we also had our student athlete mental health and awareness group. They had a station where you could pop a balloon and get a self-care tip. So we really put mental health like awareness into things. We want all of our student athletes to know all of their resources and stuff. So that was just something that we threw into the winter social because the week before exams is stressful. Everyone's kind of stressed out. It was just a nice time to unwind. But as well as all of that fun stuff, we wanted to add a little incentive. So we let some students pie our executive board, just, to get some people to show up, and there was a lot. So another bit of the internal community stuff is that we do Bearcat Cup, which might be my favorite part about being a student athlete. So Bearcat Cup is a competition between teams. In this, the teams accumulate points over the duration of the year by going to games and events around campus. So this encourages a lot of interaction and involvement from our teams. And like this year, SAC put on watch parties for men's soccer after they won the Northwest Conference and played it in the NCAA tournament. And like you could go to these watch parties and earn points. You can go to a game on campus and earn points. And basically what you're trying to do as your team is see who can get the most points. And then at the end of the school year, they announce the winners. They get a little trophy. It's highly competitive. But I would like to say that softball is in the top 3 right now. So we're looking to win it. Softball shows up to everything. Moving on from Bearcat Cup, I'm going to move into DEI efforts that SAC does. So what is DEI? DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it basically encompasses the symbiotic relationship, philosophy, and culture of acknowledging, embracing, supporting, and accepting those of all racial, sexual, gender, religious, and socioeconomic backgrounds, among other differentiators. So basically, a group of student athletes worked with Dr. Jen Fry, who is a world-renowned facilitator. They worked with her this summer and worked through her social justice playbook to decide what we wanted to bring back to our department. In this, a group of student athletes raised their hands to support their teams with conversations around this diversity, equity, and inclusion. This group, along with our SAC group, went through a Q&A with Dr. Fry about questions and concerns that we had about having these conversations. Coaches also went through a separate session with her as well, just so that we could develop strategies to help facilitate meaningful and important conversations with our teams. We plan to share the information that we learned from Dr. Fry with our teams, and as facilitators, help guide coaches into leading a conversation about DEI within their teams. So we're kind of there to, help out our coaches, but talk to our teams just as friends, like being able to talk to our teammates like on that same level about things that are important is basically what Dr. Fry helped us out with. As for upcoming plans for SAC, we plan on doing D3 week. So that is celebrating Division III athletics and being a Division III student athlete at a high achieving academic institution. So we take a lot of time out of that week to basically just appreciate what we do, show all of the student athletes some appreciation. And we also plan to do a professional development series. So this program has been running for about 9 years, and it's for our student athletes to discuss what they can take into their postgraduate life. So it's just a great opportunity to kind of take that step into thinking about the next step. But on the slide, I do want to introduce our executive board. I probably should have done that at the beginning, but our co-presidents are Katie and Ryan, awesome people. Our secretary is Shelby, also awesome. Our communications director is Ashley Collins. She's great. And our service and philanthropy leader is Connor Mullaney. And then our member at large is Kendra Knapp. Softball. So that's our executive board. But yeah, thank you. And I think that's all I have to say about SAC, but thanks.
Thanks, Jordan. I appreciate that. And I will say, I mean, you can probably tell as Jordan's talking, there's a couple of things that we know that we want to do with our student athletes, and they're very clear with us, is we want to make sure we're creating competition in anything we do. And we want to make sure we're creating opportunities for them to get together, and just be in community with one another. And, it's been a real focus of ours as we've come out of COVID, where we weren't allowed to be within 6 feet of each other and two people, different things. But our students have done a great job of being engaged and showing up and really pushing. I think, along with Brent Summers, who's another SAC advisor, you're really pushing us to do things, and they've been great. And they are never hesitant to take the lead. They might need a little direction or at some points, but as you probably all know, because you live with them, they are outstanding young men and women. And so just some informational stuff. And so, one of the things I realized too, is we're having this, there may be some folks that, as we get into spring sports, haven't been to campus or haven't been around. I wanted to introduce a few new things. We always have meetings with the fall sports when they get here early, but we don't have a chance to always connect with some of the winter and spring sports as well. And so this is just an informational slide. We've moved to online ticketing, which is a move to ticketing at all is kind of a switch for us because we were not doing that during COVID. But we've moved to online ticketing, and you can see the sports that we do that for. Those are the sports where we can actually facilitate that. We haven't figured out how to charge people for the cross-country meets in Busch Park or the golf matches down at Creekside Golf Club, but these are the events that we will charge from. your student will get 4 tickets to every game, free tickets to every game, and they will get a code that they can share with you and other family members and friends to get those tickets. And so we've given free tickets to alumni and whatnot. And so we are really in a nutshell charging the visiting team. So we should not, it should be free to anyone on this call. And if it turns out not to be, I will be reaching out to everybody with my contact information after this, and you can get in touch and I can get you those tickets. So, next slide, Eric. So the Bearcat app is another opportunity to be competitive. And so this is something that we not only use for our own athletic events, but we've also started to branch it off into larger events in terms of things that happen all over campus. And so it can be a kind of a one-stop shop for students and fans and friends and staff to see what's happening. It's mostly geared around athletics. It's by the company that does our website, or that manages our website. But it's an app that when you go to events, you can log in, you get points. You can redeem those points for different prizes. We've got stickers, we've got shirts, we've got sweatshirts, hats, whatnot. But also on there, you get live updates. You can do live stats. You can watch video. My wife will always, if I'm not at one of our games, and it even does away games, my phone will ding pretty much every Friday and Saturday night, and she knows how's this team doing, how's that team doing. So I get notifications, to my phone, so I can keep tabs on what's happening. And then probably the biggest thing, the person that has the most points every month gets a parking spot in our parking lot out here. And if you've ever tried to park after 10 a.m. on a weekday, having your own parking spot, when we talked to students, they were like, that is what we want. We tried to work on maybe preferred registration, moving up a couple slots in the housing lottery, whatever that may be, but parking was a big thing. And so a little bit about the Bearcat app. You can, parents can use it. Anybody can download it. There's a link on our website to be able to do that. And so, and then the last slide, Eric, again, just a little bit of information. Bearcat Network. And so we talked about ticketing if you're coming to our games. We talked about the app if you want to check in when you come to the games. And then also, if you are not able to, or if you're able to come and someone else may not be able to make it, we try to webcast all of our contests that we are able to do that. And so you'll see across here, we webcast a large majority. Tennis, we don't have access into the indoor facility. But we will broadcast outdoor matches, and then track and field when we have the ability to do that. We will webcast those events. And so you go to our website. There's links to the Bearcat Network. It has all of our contests. It will also have all of our opponents, all of our road contests, if that school is webcasting. I will tell you there are some schools that will charge. That we do not, but there's a school, I think, called Linfield University, if you've heard of it, that will charge you to watch. But we choose not to. We want to make it available for folks so they can watch what we're doing. And so I know we do have a question, Eric, and I think Jeff Granucci's raising his hand. We'll ask Jeff if you can throw that in the Q&A if you have a question.
Yes, if you have questions, just scroll down to the bottom of your Zoom screen, and there's a Q&A, a little thought bubble thing there, and just click on that and you can type in your questions. The first question we have this evening is whether the money from tickets, I guess for individual sports, whether those proceeds go back to those sports specifically or someplace else, Rob.
They do not. So the proceeds from the ticket sales actually go back to the general account. And they can end up going back to that program eventually. But because of the fact that we're not able to sell tickets for all sports, and there are sports that are more well attended than others by visiting teams, since that's really what we're charging, it all comes back to me, and then Leslie and I will, we'll spend that money as we see appropriate across the department.
All right. And it looks like Jeff's question was the similar, same question. So you just answered
Okay.
two for the price of one. Thanks, Rob.
There you go.
So if you
So
have,
one thing I will say, Eric, and I know we're going to go to questions if it's just a second. And so I think the folks who sent questions in advance as well, I think one of the things that we've learned with these webinars is that sometimes it's hard to answer all the questions in a webinar format. And so what I've had a habit of doing is, like I said, I have everyone's contact information. I will be sending a message out after we're done tonight, kind of thanking folks for joining us and giving you my email, my phone, in case there are questions that come up that I'm not able to answer or may not be suitable for the whole audience. Sometimes there's specific questions that folks have that it's just better for us to hop on the phone and talk about that. I have no problem with that. I don't talk about playing time. I don't do that now and didn't do that when I was coaching. So.
all right. It looks like we do have another question if you're ready, Rob.
I am.
All right. So this is from a parent of a tennis athlete. Can we explain why practices go to midnight? So it sounds like there's a late practice situation and how that might conflict with academics.
So, yep. And that's a conversation we were just having with Coach Lynn Scott in Leslie's office about 15 minutes before we started. And so it's one of the unfortunate things right now. We do not have our own indoor tennis facility. It's on a priority list along with turfing our baseball and softball fields right now, which is also a challenge for scheduling practices and access. So that we can have our own facility and have control of it. Right now, we, again, unfortunately, when there is inclement weather, we are renting a local facility. We're blessed to be able to do that, to have access, but they give us access basically before 8 a.m. And after 8 p.m. And I think the decision has been made to try to run both men's and women's practices after that 8 p.m. slot rather than early morning. And that is something that the student athletes are usually supportive of rather than getting up early in the morning. So it is an unfortunate situation. It's one we're trying to remedy, but again, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to tell the club that they need to move their members and their other users away from the times that they have. So,
All right. Thanks, Rob. Another question relates to the fitness center hours. I know that in the past staffing has been challenging, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the hours for spring have actually expanded. But could you just talk a little bit more about fitness center hours and just how that works and whether there's a potential to have hours during the weekend?
Yeah, I could talk about that a little bit. And so one of the things, and so I don't want to say it's a little different than places I've been before, but it's not necessarily different in terms of other institutions across the country. I don't oversee our fitness center. And so our fitness center, our intramural programs, our club sports are all under the jurisdiction and the supervision of our campus recreation department. And that the director of that of campus recreation actually reports still within student affairs, but to a different supervisor. And so we work very closely with them, and we can provide feedback, but ultimately I'm not in charge of the fitness center hours. I'm not in charge of access to those facilities. I do know that they extended the hours this semester and open it up for larger hours. They are trying to do that. Hopefully that will continue. I also know our staff has stepped in at times when we've needed additional hours and actually helped to staff the fitness center and able to make that possible. But it is something that our students have raised as a concern. And I know that Quinn and his staff and Campus Rec are trying to make that work so they can open it longer hours. So.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Especially, yep. I forgot that's comes through campus activities. And so that makes it even a little more challenging. So the next question is really important in terms of if a student is having a difficult time settling in, who would be a first point of contact? And, we have many points of contact on campus, but Rob, who do you all usually refer to if somebody's having a difficult time?
And I may actually, people are probably getting tired of hearing me talk also, so I may kick this one over to Leslie and see if she has thoughts. I always have thoughts, as she knows, but I will let her take a shot at this one.
Yeah, happy to answer that. And then if Isaac has anything to add, I would say student athletes, they're students first, and the Division III philosophy is to kind of treat them the same way we would the rest of the students. And they have their coaches in their corner. And so I would say if a student is struggling, if they're a first year or second year, if they're in the dorms, a lot of times they have developed a connection with their RA or their AC, their area coordinator. So kind of the staff person that's overseeing their area. So that would be one avenue that I would look to. And then I would look to their coach or their position coach to see if that person could be the right point of contact for them. I'm also, the thing about me and my role is, when I was a coach, I was real focused on the swim team and making the swim team work and move forward every day, getting to conference and that kind of thing. Now in my position, I want your student athletes to win on the court, on the field, and in the classroom. But ultimately, none of that is in my purview as much as them being kind of healthy, high functioning, like happy people. I don't know that happy is the right word that I really want to use, but I want them to be in a good place here. And all those other things, my number one goal, if they come into my office, is getting them to wherever they need to get to be moving forward in that good place. And given my, kind of position on the campus and all the groups that I work with, can get them to there, as quickly as possible. So I am another good resource, but I would say coaches, and then if they're in the dorms, RAs and that kind of thing, some folks get really close with the faculty. So it's really kind of pinpointing who might be that person on campus that works best for them, because it's going to be a little bit different. For not everyone, it's not going to be their coach or their RA. But that is one of the reasons, lastly, I'll add that I'm a part of our Students of Concern committee here on campus. And so any of the student athletes who come to that committee from a care and concern standpoint or an academic concern standpoint kind of filters through me. And then I work with the coaches or other important people on campus, getting them to Bishop Wellness Center, for example, or talking to their RA if they're having some roommate concerns. That all filters through me to make sure that we triage and that they get the support that they need.
All right. Thanks so much, Leslie. All right. So this next question, killing it in the classroom. I love that. Can we talk about what is the plan to improve success in the programs on the field court? So obviously that's like you said, Rob, we want to be champions. So I'm sure there's things in the works.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that starts with recruiting. Our coaches work tirelessly with our admissions office in recruiting. One of the things that, and I think our admissions office has taken some great steps in terms of what they are doing. I think that what they are doing in trying to bring students to Willamette. And I think the other biggest part of that, I say that part is coaching, and I have a tremendous amount of faith in our coaches. I think we have assembled an outstanding group of coaches, both head coaches and assistant coaches. But an area where some of our programs need some work, and is a big part of the recruiting process is facilities. And so we've addressed, we talked about that. There have been some questions that have come through before. And even during this time is, what are some of those plans in terms of renovations? And, that's a big part, and especially becoming an ever increasing part of a student's selection process. Coach Parker do a fantastic job of he's an outstanding person. His coaches are outstanding people. His student athletes, when you meet them, they're great. But they're also going to want to be like, hey, what is the game day experience? What's your locker room look like? What are those fields? And, we're working constantly with our folks in advancement to try to let them know our needs and come up with plans to address those needs. And so, as I mentioned earlier, indoor tennis facilities is one of those things. It's hard to recruit tennis players when they understand, we don't have a place on campus. And so for our tennis program to get better, we're going to need that. We've identified softball turf and baseball turf. We're working every day right now. We've had companies coming out to survey and do different things to try to make that a possibility and find those costs and figure out how we're going to do that, because that's a priority. And so that is actively in the works, because our students need to be able to play their games, and that's an important part of the process. And then even stuff is Mr. Granucci asked the question earlier: access to the fitness center. So we have a great fitness center. It's fantastic. We did that renovation now 9 years ago. That was one of the things we identified that we needed to improve and raise $6 million to improve that space. The challenge is, as soon as you finish it, you need to raise another $6 million to continue to improve it. And that is something we continue to look at. But now that we have that space, we need to make sure that we can have an opportunity to have it, accessible to folks when they need it. So, those are some of the key components. Obviously, getting the right folks here. I think we have the right folks in the uniforms. I think we have the right folks who are doing the coaching. It's just a matter of trying to make sure that we are creating the right experience for those student athletes when they're here. And a lot of that comes down to facilities. I don't know if that helps.
All right. Yeah, that's excellent. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. And Eric, I see your question, and we are going to be on the phone sometime this week or next week, and we can address that appropriately. I will say that in the conversations that I've had, even today with folks in the financial side, they are ready to support. They are supporting, and they are ready to support these projects as we work on them. So.
And Rob, I know you touched on Bearcat Network earlier, but for track and field, does the Bearcat Network live stream any of those meets?
So we will live stream a few of them, and so when we can make sure that our coaches are letting you know when those are. If you ever look at our schedule, if something's going to be live streamed, it will have a little camera icon right next to the event. You click on that, and that'll take you where you need to go. I don't know of other institutions that do live stream, but my guess is we will do one for our Willamette Invitational. That's a little bit larger meet, and I know we are going to live stream the conference track championships that we host at the third week of April. And so we're always trying to make sure we do it. I think the challenge that we have is the person that runs our live stream is also the person that runs our timing system. And so he cannot do both at the same time. So we try to live stream when we can find someone to time for.
Excellent. Yeah, I have to say, I love the Bearcat Network, and the fact that you can go on the website, look on the schedule, and see whether it'll be streamed with a little camera icon next to it, and then just be able, when the game is happening or the contest is happening, click right on that icon and it takes you there. That's just super handy. And I know that if it's an away game, but that other campus does the live streaming, then it works. It works in terms of we tap into their system and get to watch from their stream. So that's really, really excellent. And it looks like that might be the rest of our questions. So I'll just leave it to you, Rob, or any of the other panelists who have anything else to say in terms of closing thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, no, I want to thank folks for being here. Expect probably not this evening, but expect a message from me over the next few days. Again, just with my contact information, we always welcome those conversations and to hear from you if anything else pops up. And I thank Isaac and Leslie for being here, and Jordan also. She had to run off to class, and so we don't. I feel like I'm busy. I feel like our students are always like 3 times busier than we are. So. Yeah, and then again, Eric and Leah for making this possible.
Well, we're happy to help provide the support, and just glad to bring parents into the mix and share this information with you. And so I also want to thank Rob and Isaac and Leslie and Jordan for being here this evening and sharing all that good information. And to all of you, thanks for joining us. I hope that you learned about, you learned more about athletics. Hopefully your questions were answered. And I know Rob is more than willing to have additional conversation. And so really appreciate the opportunity to have a director of athletics that's that accessible. And I just really want to echo that our student athletes are phenomenal. Our athletics program is incredible. And some of that also, comes from the parents and the way that you raised your kids and then that you let them, like Leslie said earlier, let them come here and spend time with us. And it's really special and phenomenal. So thanks for being a part of this as well. We'll follow up with a short survey tomorrow. And so I hope that you'll take a minute and fill that out and then look for a follow-up from Rob as well. Thanks for all of you being here, and please take care, and we'll see you next time.